Good morning. My name is Julie. I am the owner and the founder of Lady Faulti. You're either watching this video on my Facebook group or my YouTube channel, which are both called Lady Faulti's Light Healing. Today we're going to talk about making a despacho. Before we get started, we are going to just burn a little bit of sage here, smudge a little bit, and then we'll get going. So some of you may not know what a despacho is, and a despacho is basically just an offering back to Mother Earth, whether you want to call her Pachamama or Gaia, whatever you choose to call her. It's an offering back to Mother Earth. These offerings should be all biodegradable, so we don't want to put anything in there that's plastic or metal, but other than that, it's pretty much fair game as what you put in it. I did put up a couple of lists if you were looking for some ideas of what you might put in it. I keep mine very, I don't want to say earthy, but little Paleo Santos there for you today too. But I keep it very simple, I guess, and I keep mine geared towards the healing and the growth of our planet. You can, change it up a little bit, just like you can a medicine bundle or a wish jar or anything like that. You can change it up and make it set your intentions a little differently, and that's really what it's kind of all about, is setting the intention. So some of the things that I've gathered is, let's see here, we'll just go through it, and then I'm going to try to move the camera in so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So we'll see how, this was kind of the purpose of me getting this camera, so we'll see how that goes. But first here, I've made a mess. Alright, so you're going to want a piece of cloth. It doesn't really matter what it looks like or anything. I pick green just because it's earthy to me. You're also going to want a smaller piece of fabric, because this is what you're actually going to make your despacho on, and then we're going to fold it up, but then we're going to fold it into the bigger piece of fabric. So again, I'll show you as I'm making it how that goes. Some of the things that I've gathered to go in here, I have a couple of bay leaves. I have some seeds that I save. Whenever I have an apple or any kind of fruit that has seeds in it, I always save my seeds, either for planting or for this purpose. I have a little bit of some pink Himalayan salt here. The only thing that I really have that's not earthy is my little piece of candy here, because I usually break up the candy and put some candy in there. I have some rocks. So I probably should explain a little bit more as I do it, but maybe I will as I'm putting it together. How's that? So I have some rocks. You can use crystals if you'd rather use crystals. I just got some plain old ordinary rocks. I have you can't see it probably very well in the glass jar, but I have a Christmas cactus. This new camera is going to take some time to get used to. Everything's backwards. I have some Christmas cactuses that, as the flowers have died and fallen off, I dry them and save them. Again, just for purposes of making incense or despachos, wish jars, anything like that. I have some sari ribbon, which is S-A-R-I, sari ribbon, to tie my bundle up. If you don't have any, you can certainly just, if I don't have any, which I've just bought a whole bunch, so I have plenty, but if you don't, you can always just use some plain old twine. Get a 3-pack of it at the dollar store. So you can use that. I guess I got 2 pieces of solder in here. And let's see here. I've got a feather. I'm always picking up feathers. My husband is always picking up feathers for me as well. And if I have ones that kind of don't look so hot, that's what the one I'll use those for my despachos. I have a little jar of some seashells. Yes, they are store-bought, but they are still seashells. So I have a couple of seashells in there that I can use. Maybe, if I can't get the cover off. Oh, I'll have to use one of my own seashells. I guess I wasn't meant to use the store-bought. Oh, there we go. And I have a candle. I'll drip a little bit of the wax in there as well. So those are just some of the things I've gathered. There was a few other little things I wanted to get here, so let me see. I was going to grab them before we started and I forgot. Sorry. Right here. Alright, so I wanted to just grab some dried berries to put in there as well, some juniper berries. So, you don't have to have the same items. This thing is driving me crazy. I'm backwards. You don't have to have the same items. Your items can be different. There's no really right or wrong way. Again, like I said, the only thing is don't put anything in there that's not going to be biodegradable. You don't want to put any metals or plastics or anything like that in there. Side note, I know I was having some volume sound issues. I've checked the mic. The mic seems to be working okay. Somebody suggested that I put a cloth under my computer to see if that makes a difference. So I have done that. So I'm relying on you guys to let me know if it still sounds crappy or not. I mean, if I have time, I'll go back and listen to it myself and see if I can tell. But right now, I just hear myself, so I sound fine. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got gathered. There's all other kinds of things, and there's a list on there. You can use any kind of rices or grains, any kind of seeds. You can use any kind of dried fruits or fruits. You know, really, like I said, anything that you want. And the list I put up there kind of gave you some ideas of the intentions for each of those items, but again, I think of those as suggestions. Your intention is your intention. You know, I could see a seashell and think something different than you see a seashell. So don't get too caught up in what the list says. Just go with your gut and what you feel. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? Some people like to kind of lay out their stuff kind of like in a little picture, sometimes kind of a mandala pattern. I usually kind of use a star pattern, and I'll show you that once I turn the camera down. But really, a despacho is just the items with intention in the pouch. So if you just, you know, place the shell in and then place the rocks in and then place the flowers in and tie it up, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be anything pretty, because once you fold it all up, it's not going to stay the same anyway. But some of us just like to do that with a little bit more intention. to kind of take time and place it out. Some people say you need to start in the east and only work clockwise. Again, that's just, in my opinion, a suggestion. The definition of a despacho is items placed in a cloth for offering. It's real simple. So you don't have to make it complicated, but if you want to, you certainly can. Again, one of my things I say all the time is there's really not any right or wrong way. The only reason we say no like metals or plastic is because at the end of this, you're going to offer it to Mother Earth. You can either burn it. So again, you don't want to be burning anything that's plasticky or styrofoam or anything like that. Your metal's not going to burn. You can offer it up to the ocean if you live near the ocean. So again, you wouldn't want it to be anything that would be harmful to the water. And you can bury it, which is, for me, if you're making an offering to Mother Earth, the best way to do it is to plant it, to bury it. So mine is going to have to wait about 4 or 5 months because my ground is frozen solid right now. So the last despacho I made is sitting over there on my shelf, waiting to be buried this spring as well. So this one's just going to go up there with it, and I will bury them both at the same time this spring. Again, suggested wise is that when you bury it, you dig the hole with your hands and bury it back with your hands. Where I live in the granite state, digging a hole with your hands is really not an option for most of us. So I will use a shovel to dig my hole, but then I will place it in with my hands and put the dirt back with my hands, just to kind of get that contact with the earth. It's also some good grounding to get your hands dirty a little once in a while. So with that, I think I have everything I want. Actually, I might put some sage leaves in there as well. You know, like last night I was going through what I wanted in here, and then this morning some things are feeling a little different. So alright, so I'm going to turn the camera down. Hopefully this is going to work. Hopefully you guys aren't going to fall on the ground. And so you're not going to be looking at my face. You're going to be looking at my little workspace that I have here. I tried it real quick before I went live, and it seems to be okay. So hopefully I will be able to turn the camera and not drop you. If I drop you, just hold tight. I will fix you. But, so here we go. I'm going to try to turn you down to my workspace. Right. So yes, you're going to see my boobs. Sorry. Let me see. I don't know if I turn you down much more, you're just going to see the laptop. So, alright, there you go. You see my fat belly too. Alright, let's see here. So you can see my cloth. Move it towards me just a little bit. It's right at the edge here, so, of my table, but I want it to be so you guys can see it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is, I save all my ashes from my charcoal discs, and so what I'm going to actually do is kind of break that up. It's pretty loose, fine powder, and what I'm going to do is, trying to make sure you guys can see all this, I'm going to take this and kind of make my, and it's definitely not artistic, and it, you know, doesn't necessarily need to be artistic, but I'm trying to right now make my star. So the purpose of the star is your elements. So it's bringing in your elements. So your 4 points, well, your star has 5 points, but 4 of the points are north, south, east, and west. And then your fifth point is spirit, the source, God, whatever higher power you see fit to call it, her, it, he. All right. So it's not a very pretty star, but you can see I've made a star pattern here. So that is calling in our east and not really quite right, but east, north, south, west, and spirit. So with that, the next thing I'm going to do, and you can kind of do this any way you want. You don't have to follow the way that I'm doing it. I just kind of start with some of the bigger items just so they're at the bottom, and then kind of work up to some of the smaller items. So I'm going to take my 5 rocks and I'm going to place them around. So I will, just for the sake of it, start in the east and move around here. So now I have my rocks. So my rocks for me are just symbolizing the earth element. Sorry, I'm dying of thirst this morning. So our rocks are obviously earthy. So that's for the earth element. Alright, so next I think I'm going to put in one of my seashells. Yep, those things. Or maybe not. Doesn't want to come out of the bottle. Alright, technical difficulties. And I think I'm going to use 3. 3 is my life path number. So it has a lot of meaning to me. And it's the triangle. So I'm going to use the triangle that's already, I went out of order. I'm going to use the triangle that would have been in the star. So can you kind of see that I use the inner part of the star and kind of use that to make my triangle. So it's an upside down triangle. That doesn't mean anything bad, the upside down triangle. I just use it because it's the triangle in the star. You could have kind of alternated it and put it here and with the top rock here and made it a triangle this way. You could have put it here and put these 2 down here and made a really big triangle that way. Again, there's really no right or wrong way. I just kind of go with my gut. And pretty much my despachos look pretty much the same all the time. So they're not very different. I'm going to take the candy, and before I take it out of the package here, I'm just going to break it up. So the candy is supposedly said that, you know, Mother Earth loves her candy, which I'm like, I hear you, sister, because I love it too. But it's also for me the sweetness of the planet, the sweetness of what's around us, and everything that is. So trying to break it up into fairly smaller pieces here, but it's not cooperating very well. So I'm going to kind of place those just around. That's kind of a really big piece. So I'm almost making like a reverse star now with that, and I've made a mess with the candy, but that's okay. It's all cleanable. Alright, so we've got, I'm getting unorganized here. So let me we've used the seashells. We used the rocks, so those are all gone. I'm going to put a little bit of sage in here. So the sage is kind of, I don't know where that went. Sage is, we know, purification. I'm making a mess this morning. So I'm going to just be putting some leaves in here to help Mother Earth purify herself. Looking for some nice big leaves here. See if I can find a couple big ones. Of course, just because I'm trying to, I won't. Put some rose petals in here. I could throw those in. Let's throw a couple rose petals in. This is what we call an 8-ball jar. I don't really know where the name came from, but pretty much if I have just a little bit of something and I don't want to have a whole jar for just a little teeny bit of something, it goes in here. And it's really great for when you're looking for something like this. And it's really great just for if you want to throw it on the charcoal disc. So I try to save as much stuff as I can and have it have a purpose. Alright, so I've kind of, again, I'm going with the 3 leaves. I went with the 3 rose petals. So the rose petals for me are going to represent the beauty and the passion for the planet that I have. So that's what I'm going to use the roses for. I just don't want this to fall off, but I don't want you guys to lose the tops of that either. Alright, so what do we got left here? We've got some seeds. So I'm going to just take out some of the seeds. And so seeds, you know, are rebirth, growing. So I'm going to put in quite a few of these. And I'm going to put them on each side of the star. Let me get some more out here. Alright. Partially blind, so I can't see. Alright. So you can see I'm putting one on each little leg, I guess, side of the star. Did I miss? I missed that one. Let me go back to this one. I'm going to push the rock out a little bit so I have a little bit of space to work there. And again, it doesn't have to look pretty because you're going to fold it all up and then bury it. But you know, it's kind of nice to do this. Take your time while you're setting your intentions. Think about why you're putting in what you're putting in. You know, instead of just throwing it all in there and just closing it up. I like to, you know, and it doesn't have to take an hour. I'm taking it a little longer because I'm, you know, talking to you while I'm doing it. But if you're doing it on your own, this feels weird that like you're looking at my hands and stuff. But if you were doing this on your own, you could do it with your intention and take probably 10 or 15 minutes to do it. So what else do we got here to bring in? We're going to bring in some of the juniper berries. And, you know, juniper berries are, you know, like the fruit of the earth. So calling in the earth to be fruitful. And so I'm going to just use 3. Again, I like to use 3s of things. If you're a life path 4 and you want to use 4, If you're a life path 11 and you want to use 11, there's no right or wrong way. If you're a life path 11 and you still only want to use 3, that's fine too. I just am fond of the number 3, and even when I'm not really being intentional, I find I do a lot of things in 3s. So I'm going to set those just inside of each one of the shells in the little triangle again. Alright, so can you see I put one here, and then one here inside the little seashells. Alright, so I saved these flowers. I told you guys I saved these from my Christmas cactus, and as they were falling off, I just saved them. You know, where most people would just pick them up and throw them away. Not me. I save most of everything, especially if it's, you know, plant. And so you can see the little flowers there as I dry them so they don't get moldy and stuff. So I'm going to actually probably put quite a few of these on here. I'm just going to go around and see what I've got, and then I might go around on the other side as well. So right now I'm kind of going on the top side of the candy, but I think I've got enough that I can go back around and do the other side as well. And so this to me is kind of sorry, I'll put this in my April here, just a little leaf. Put that in there. So the Christmas cactus, it, you know, blooms, it dies down, and then it takes a little bit of time, and then it blooms again. So that's kind of what I'm using this for, is, you know, the earth has its spring, and then it has its winter, or spring, summer, winter, you know, fall, everything dies down, and then in the spring it's going to come back again. So that's what I'm going to use for 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't quite have enough to do another set, so I'm gonna just leave it at that for right now. Just pick up my mess. Some people like to go ahead and make their craft and be all messy and then clean it up after. Not me. I'm more of a clean as I go kind of person. Alright, so we still have a few things to put in here. Alright, and so I'm going to take the salt. So I have some pink Himalayan salt here. I've got it in a nice little baggie here, but you can buy it at any grocery store really. And I'm going to put just a pinch or so in the very, very middle. Make a little bit of a mound, I think. And, you know, just the whole, the salt of the earth is kind of how I think of that. So it's very fitting to put some salt in there for Gaia. We're getting down to the end of our stuff here, guys. So we're going to be getting pretty close to wrapping this up, which we still do have a few more items to put in. So I grabbed 3 bay leaves, but I just realized that one of my bay leaves is really pretty shabby looking. But I've got 3 bay leaves here. Again, 3 for me. You don't have to do 3. You can do 1 or 2 or whatever number you want. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of making it like a little fan, and I'm going to place that right in the middle, just because I think it looks cool and pretty. It's kind of covering up some of the seeds and some of the other things, but that's okay. because like I said, once we wrap this up, it's gonna all get all jumbled anyway. So you don't have to make the picture, you don't have to make a design, you don't have to do a star, but if you wanted to, you could do a mandala or you know, any design, shape, anything you want. I just like the star because it brings in the elements. So yeah, so we've kind of got our water element covered a little bit too with the seashells, and we've got the earth element covered by our rocks. The earth element is in there in a lot of different forms. The plants, the ashes, the salt. So the earth is, you're going to see, is very much more the theme for my stuff. But I do like to bring in some of the other elements. So that's where the seashells came in a little bit right there, is to bring in some of the water medicine. But the other thing you can do in you can use any kind of oil. You can use an essential oil. You can use, this is just plain old olive oil. And what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to drip it, I'm going to just kind of, I have a little mister here, and I'm going to just kind of mist the whole thing. So you probably can't see that very well, but there's little teeny spots, and it's kind of making it all a little shiny for me, the way my lighting is. But you could certainly take, let's see what we have here. I have a little jar of, actually a big jar of myrrh here. So if I wanted, hadn't planned on putting this in here, but you could certainly take a little bit and put a little bit of essential oils in that way. So your essential oils are covering your water element. But like I said, I do have the seashells in there to bring in that element as well. So then the next thing I'm going to do, so we've got the earth, we know we've got the earth covered. Now we've made sure our water is covered. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to take my candle, because I don't really want to set this on fire. You can, when you're all done, burn it if you want. That is one way to release it. But again, I'd rather bury mine. But to bring in some of the fire element, what I'm going to do is just kind of let this candle just kind of drip. Just going to go around slowly, let it drip on there. Trying to be a little bit of keeping with the pattern of where the drops go, but you don't need to. We'll put a couple big ones here in the middle. Alright, so now we've brought in some of our fire element into our despacho. And so the last thing I'm going to do to bring in is that feather I showed you. Again, I collect feathers all over my yard. I have ravens and all kinds of different birds in my yard all year long. And I'm always collecting them, and my husband, if he's out mowing the lawn or whatever, he's always collecting them as well. And I have a bag that I save them in, but sometimes they just don't look the greatest, and those are the ones that I set aside for my despacho. So I'm going to just put that in there. And so what I'm going to do is get that twine back out that I showed you guys before. Oh, I should have done this before, but that's okay. Crafting. Always change things up a little bit. I'm pulled out last night with everything I felt I needed, and then this morning as I'm doing it, I feel like I need some other stuff. So that's just the way it goes. So this is where it's going to get tricky, because as soon as you start folding it, it's going to get all messed up, and that's perfectly fine. So like I said, if you don't want to spend the time making this all out, you can simply place the items in here as long as you're taking at least a few seconds when you're placing the items in there to be setting the intention of why you're putting those items in there. So this is kind of the tricky part. Actually, I'm going to move this feather and put it this way for right now, because again, it's just going to all come apart. It's going to fall over, but we're going to fold in one side, and then we're going to fold in, oh, the wax went through, fold in the other side. So I did the east and then I guess west. And this is because now you got to kind of break that feather to fold it in. And make sure if stuff is falling out, you just kind of tuck it back in there. This is where I said it gets a little messy, it gets a little tricky, because my stuff is trying to all squish out the top as well. If you wanted to cut a bigger piece of cloth, you certainly can, but it doesn't really need to be, because that's what you have the bigger outer piece of cloth for. So doesn't look the greatest, but you know, we're going to bury it. So let me just get this under here. Actually, no, I want to go over first. And then under. I try not to flip it too much. Some people say not to flip it, that it, you know, it's, I don't know, a big deal if you flip it, but for me, just, it's hard enough to hold it all in place, and if you flip it, it's just gonna make it even harder. So that's why I don't flip it. Stuff is all falling out, and if you flip it over, you know, it's gonna all come out. So just gonna tie it, and again, it's not real pretty looking. I should have taken a picture of it before I tied it up. Oh well, it's on video, right? All right, so this is your little inner piece of your despacho. Now you're going to put it in the center of your bigger piece, and you're basically going to do the same thing. So probably I have too big of a piece here, but that's okay. Just going to kind of fold that over. So I doubled that. Did you see that? Because it was too long. So I just folded it over a little bit. So I'll probably do the same thing on the other side, is fold that in a little bit first. And so then I'm folding it in and folding from the east. Again, don't need to, but that's just the way I've been taught to do it, and so it just feels right to me to do the east, and then we'll fold in from the west, and then down from the south, and then finish off with the north. And again, I'm just kind of double folding it, so I folded the bottom in a little bit and then folded it up, just because the piece of cloth I have is a little too big for it. So I'm going to just fold down this top piece in half and then fold it again. So now I have a pretty little green satchel here, and then I'm going to take my sari ribbon. I ordered a bunch of it from India. It took a while to get here, but I use it for a lot of stuff, so, and it wasn't super expensive. Alright, so again, I just folded the ribbon around it because I don't want to tip it. You know, now it's pretty much wrapped up, so nothing's going to fall out of it, but again, I just like to keep it upright. And I'm just going to tie a little bow on here. It's nothing fancy, just a little bow. And there you go. I have made an offering to Mother Earth. Typically you would go out right away and bury it. I'm going to see. You've all see the little despacho. So I'm going to try to put the camera back up so you're not looking at my stomach and my boobs. So that is a despacho. Like I said, if you are looking for ideas of what to put in it, I do have a couple of different lists that I got from a couple of different sources. So some of the items might be on both lists listed a little differently. That's because they came from two different sources, but they're just suggestions. It's really your intention of what you use and why you're putting it in there. So those are just some suggestions to get you started, because if you've never made one before, you may really have no idea what you want to put in it. Like I said, mine was very earth intentional, so rebirth, beauty, all for healing Mother Earth, but I did make sure to kind of pull in some of those other elements of the fire, water, and air by putting a few little things in there to help represent that. If you wanted to put in something for spirit as well, you certainly can. I think of spirit as the source as Gaia, so I didn't put an additional specific item for that, I guess. But if you are worship a different source, you could put in something to represent that for you. Again, no right or wrong way. It's all about your intentions. Morning, Bobby Joe. Thanks for watching. Glad that somebody's popped on with me. I know it's super early. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, certainly let me know. Like I said, this is going to have to wait a little while before I can bury it because our ground is frozen. Some people will put them in a plant pot for the winter, and then in the springtime take it back out of the plant pot and take it out and bury it. I don't do that. I don't feel that I need to. I have my bundle, I have my intention set in it, and as soon as for me, as soon as Gaia is ready to receive it and she's thought out a little bit, I will make sure that she gets this. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I haven't decided what we're going to talk about next week yet. Gotta get the books out and see kind of what's coming next. February will be a lot about, I'm sure, love. Coming up is Valentine's Day, so I'm so sure February will have some love stuff in there. So maybe we'll do a love jar. Something to think about for February, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll go through the book. If anybody is interested, I am no longer a sales advisor. Sage Goddess did away with that program. So by me showing you these items, I don't get any more commission for the sales, which is kind of sad, but needless to say, that doesn't change the fact that I think her products are great. I didn't buy them or promote them just because they got me money. I use them, I buy them, and I promote them because I really think they're good products. So that has not changed. But the books that I'm going to be using this year is our Ultimate Guide to Chakra, and I put a bookmark in there so I could find it easily. There is a little thing in here about how to make a despacho. This one's really simple. She's only put like 4 or 5 things in it. And like you can see, you could use oranges, you could use cloves, what else has she got in the picture? Seashells, some gemstones, that looks like maybe some copal resin. She's got some sage up here, and then she's just put it in this little thing and tied it up, which is, like I said, that's all you really need to do. You could just get a piece of cloth and put everything in it and just tie it up. And it would technically be a despacho. I just like mine to be a little bit more intentional than that. But this is the book we're going to be following. So this month we're doing the Earth Star Chakra. And so that's why we're doing a despacho for the Earth. The other books that I'm using, let me grab them here quick. I've showed them to you before, but in case somebody else is watching. I'm also using the Book of Blessings and Rituals, so we'll be taking some stuff out of here as well. And also using the Witch's Date book, which I just bought on Amazon. These books can all be bought on Amazon, or the first two books can be bought on sagegoddess.com. If you do order them on Amazon, you're going to get them a lot faster, though, especially if you have Prime. So these are the 3 books that I am going to be using for the year, unless something changes, which sometimes that happens and I go a different way, but for right now that's my plan. So give me some thumbs up or a hi or whatever, so I know you guys have watched. I will upload it onto YouTube this afternoon as well, so it'll be there if anybody wants to watch it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. I don't think I had anything else to tell you. Sorry, I moved the video. Most of you know that I am in my mid to late 40s. We'll just put it at that. And so premenopause has been set in for several years now for me. And Wednesday night for Thursday morning was not feeling well. I didn't sleep much. Hot flashes. So up with hot flashes, throwing off the blankets, and then get back to sleep, and then you wake up because you're freezing because you got no blankets on, and it's New Hampshire in January. So yeah, I did not sleep well at all. I woke up, I was just achy, I had an earache. Some days I'm just a mess. Today I woke up and I feel fine. So the hormones can really do a job on you. So sorry about that. I wasn't sick or anything like that. I just was really not rested at all, and I looked a wreck, and I probably wouldn't have been very coherent to do this for you. So I was like, I'm just gonna push it off a day. So yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. If you're looking for ideas, let me know. Like I said, most of the stuff I got either found it myself, which I know now, if you're in New Hampshire and you're outside looking for rocks and feathers, it's going to be pretty hard to find. That might be a little bit trickier. If you need something, let me know. I probably have something that I can give you. If you just need a feather or something, just let me know. I have a whole bag of feathers. I'll spare a couple feathers, or if somebody needs something. But like I said, the seashells I got at the dollar store, and the twine came from the dollar store. The Himalayan salt came from the dollar store. The 2 pieces of fabric I got at my consignment store. So I only paid a couple of dollars for those. Yeah, and the rocks and stuff like that. And I just kind of found a piece of candy was left over from Halloween candy that nobody ate. And a lot of the other stuff, bay leaves, you probably have that in your kitchen cupboard. And if you don't have sage or whatever, that's not really that big a deal. Right now you could go out and get some cedar. Probably if you're in New Hampshire, you probably got a cedar tree somewhere close by. I have a giant one right off my front porch. So if you needed a few sprigs of cedar, you could probably dig that up pretty easy. Just don't take too much. Just cut a little sprig. That's all you need. But yeah, if you just need a suggestion for something, certainly let me know. But like I said, there is a list on there of other items that you can easily get right now. Rice, nuts, raisins, seeds. You know, if you have a piece of fruit, save your seeds. If you got a flower that has lost its blossoms, certainly you can use those. I always tell my friends and stuff, if anybody ever gets flowers when they start to die, I want them. But now they're like, why? Why do you want them? And I'm like, well, you can use them in your bath, and you can use them for incense. And now they're not giving me their flowers anymore because now they're using them themselves. But that's okay. Somebody's using them for a good reason. So if somebody gives you flowers and they start to die, oh, hello, the dog is up. Don't just throw them away. You can certainly reuse them for something. And if nothing else, if you really don't want to reuse them for something, and like I have all kinds of woods around me and stuff, you can always just throw them back outside. They'll break down and compost and go back to Mother Earth. So you don't need to, you shouldn't throw things away in the garbage if you don't need to. My ashes, like I said, off my charcoal discs, I save them and I use them for other things. And if I get too many, then I put them in my plants. Just sprinkle them on the top of the soil for my plants. So I try to reuse as much as I can. Try to throw away as little as possible. And be good to Gaia that way as well. So, you know, not only is it just about making a despacho and an offering to her, but it's about doing things every day that we can by cutting back on our plastic. I try to cut back, sorry, I'm going off here a little bit, but I try to cut back on any kind of plastic. I try not to use styrofoam. I've bought metal straws, so I don't use any plastic straws if I don't have to. I actually have a set of little silverware that I keep in my purse, so if we go somewhere and there's they give you plastic silverware, I don't take them. I have my own silverware in my purse that I keep in a little baggie, so after when they're dirty you can put them back in the baggie. So that is plastic, but you know, you can only do so much right away. If you put it in a cloth one, though, you have to keep throwing away the cloth one, so that's not much better either. But maybe I'll find some sort of closable container to put them in. Somebody asked me the other day about how to keep their, they had it's called an extractor needle. I don't have one. It's similar to like a Vogel, but the pointy end is much pointier. That's why it's called a needle. Or their pendulum and things like that. And I said, go to the dollar store and buy eyeglass cases and put a little piece of cloth in there and put it in there. So the dollar store can be used for a lot of great things. All these little jars that all of my herbs and everything are all from the dollar store. The glass, again, I don't like to buy anything plastic if I don't have to. I use glass, metal, or wood. So if you can do that, every little bit counts. So if you don't have to use plastic silverware, don't. If you don't have to use plastic straws, don't. If you go to a restaurant and they give you takeout, ask if you can have it in cardboard. Most restaurants now, it's the only place that still gives me styrofoam is the Chinese place down the street here. Other than that, most places I go, if you get takeout and they bring you a box, it's a cardboard box now. So some of these restaurants are getting on board as well. So every little bit helps to get rid of the plastic on our planet. Buy yourself a glass or metal water bottle. Stop buying plastic water bottles. So many people use plastic water bottles, and our ocean is full of them. So my speech on saving the planet for today, but really it is a big thing for me to reuse, recycle, or repurpose. If I have something I really just don't want, it goes to the consignment store. It doesn't go to the dump. And if it's really not very good condition, and I don't think the consignment store will take it, then it goes to a thrift store. It never goes to the dump, unless, like, I don't know, something really bad happened to it. It might go to the dump. But even that, if there's something I can burn, I burn it and don't take it. I don't burn styrofoam. I don't burn plastic. But if there's something that we can burn, we burn it in our bonfire, and not, again, don't take it. Am I still going? Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened. Froze, probably internet. So yeah, the other thing I was saying is any kind of food that I have, orange peels, onion peels, chop off the ends of the carrots, anything like that. I live in a wooded location, so all of that just gets thrown outdoors. I don't put it in the garbage can. It goes outside for squirrels or chipmunks or birds or whatever else is out there. This week we're being visited by coy dogs. So, all right, I've ranted enough. It's time for me to go to work. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. If you're missing something that you can't find, maybe I have it, or can direct you on where to get it. So don't ever be afraid to ask me. You're not bothering me, because people will say that, I'm so sorry to bother you. And it's like, no, you are not bothering me. This is what I am here for. I love helping you guys. If there's even the littlest thing I can help you with, I feel like my day's been worth it. So don't ever feel like you're bothering me, because I love you guys and I want to help. And if you don't really, resonate with what I'm teaching, what I'm going over, that's okay too. If you just want, you can see, like, I'm really looking for someone else to learn from, and I can give you some suggestions on that. There's a million of us on YouTube, so you can pretty much just Google whatever you're looking for and get a million responses, and probably half a dozen to a dozen videos on it. If you don't resonate with me or what I'm saying, that is perfectly okay. I actually advise people to take learnings from 2 to 3 different people, because not everything I do is going to resonate with you, and not everything somebody else does is going to resonate with you. So if you learn from a couple of different people, you can take the bits and pieces that resonate with you and make it your own. I do recommend that you don't learn from too many people, because then I think you're just going to get confused, and it's going to be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Because everybody says different. But again, one of my biggest things is for most part, there's really no right or wrong way. People get so tied up with, I didn't do it right, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's fine. If you missed a step, or if you forgot to put something in from one of the elements, or you didn't fold it the same way I folded it, or whatever, it's fine. It's all about the intention. It's not about the actual tools. It's really about the intention you're setting when you're doing it, and the thought that's going into it. So don't get tied up in the details. You'll drive yourself nuts. Okay? But if you're one of those people who likes to have, like, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, I've hopefully laid that out for you. We all like to do things a little differently, so hopefully I've covered the different angles for you. All right, so I am going to go to work. It's Friday. I'm excited about Friday. And actually, I'm not all that excited about Friday until it hits about 5 o'clock. Then I'm excited about Friday. But I have to get groceries on a Friday in Shaw's, so that won't be fun. But muggle things that we have to do. All right, I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Remember, be kind. Your kindness not only will change your day, but it could change somebody else's day and potentially somebody else's life. And it's free, so sprinkle that shit everywhere, guys. Love you. Bye.